Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Well, mainly gentlemen. A couple of months ago I went to the cinema to watch this new romantic comedy. I don't know if you heard of it. It's called Napoleon. Throughout the duration of the movie I couldn't help but notice that Mr. Emperor of France was a bit weird. He wasn't stupid or anything, just a little autistic. But this fact got me curious. Wonder how many world-renowned rulers/monarchs were maybe not alright up there in the head, had a few screws loose, forgot to take their normal pills, perhaps even belonged to the ashram. Turns out there's actually quite a few of them, so let me show you my favorite retards throughout history. Our first case comes from the Far East, Emperor Qin Shi Huang. A man that truly had that dog in him, not in a racist way. The unifier of ancient China, builder of the Great Wall that would keep the Mongols away, and the Terracotta Army that would protect him in his afterlife. Also, he burned a bunch of books at some point and buried some scholars alive. Bet you're wondering why he did the last two things. Well, he probably didn't like scholars and books, but also the fact that he was extremely paranoid may have played a role. So paranoid in fact that he made owning weapons in his city illegal, and he would never sleep in the same castle twice, in fear of getting assassinated. Qin saw enemies everywhere, and the only solution in his mind was to seek the legendary elixir of immortality. You cannot be killed if you are immortal after all. He would journey across his empire, drinking all sorts of dubious potions that ironically may have led him to a premature death because he drank mercury. Wow, I finally found it! The elixir of immortality! Wait, what does it say? Oh, English hasn't been invented yet. Just ask the Dragon Balls for immortality, stupid. Anyhow, let's move on to the Roman Empire with the Mad Emperor, Elagabalus, the femboy one. A Syrian priest of the sun god Elagabalus, that's where he took his name, rising to power at the tender age of just 14 with the claim of being a bastard child of Caracalla. I wonder what you were doing at age 14. This guy was becoming emperor. Now back to the whole femboy bit. This little man was a deviant. He would dress up as a girl and go around town prostituting himself, basically turning the whole of Rome into your mom's bedroom on a Friday night. He also married a total of 5 times, twice to the same woman and once to a priestess, which was a big no-no in Rome. In addition, he had an affair with a charioteer named Heracles, a certified boy lover. Elagabalus apparently loved being called his queen. Bear in mind he's also still underage at this point. But his degeneracy doesn't end there, as he would appoint senators based on their pee-pee size. This man was filling government positions through a cock inspection. This fascination with male genitalia, among other reasons, are seen as proof by some historians that Elagabalus was not an emperor, but an empress. Now, before you claim one of the most incompetent Roman emperors as transgender, let me mention a few other weird things he or she did, like smothering people with flowers, dinner parties with lions, driving around in a chariot pulled by naked women, throwing coins out of his balcony to watch people fight over them, and praying to a rock, among other religious controversies. Only thing he wouldn't do was, well, be emperor. Grandma did that. To be fair, we are talking about a teenager here. Of course he doesn't know how to run an empire. And to address the elephant in the room, no, he most likely wasn't trans, nor pure evil. Most information from Elagabalus comes from 2 dudes that hated his guts, so take their words with a grain of salt. To conclude, he was a shit emperor with a shitty mustache. D-tier, Praetorian Guard, take they/them away. Because we now have to take a trip to medieval France, where we find Charles VI. A man so insane that even his Wikipedia warns us of his mental illness and psychotic episodes. The first attack of delirium Charles had was during an expedition in the forest of Le Mans. One of the soldiers dropped the king's lance, and the sound that it made sent Charles into a frenzy, attacking several of his own men and killing a few in the process. Unfortunately, his mental decline would develop further and further. At some points he would forget even his own name, as well as the faces of his wife and kids. And at other times he would run around the castle screaming at the top of his lungs. Perhaps the most famous aspect of his mental illness was his so-called glass delusion. Charles thought he was made entirely out of glass, and if anybody touched him, he would shatter to pieces. Bro refused to take a shower for like 5 months because of this, only having that filth scrubbed off of him on the orders of the royal physician. Even French people today take a shower once a month. Interestingly, this was not the only time that a royal had glass delusion. Princess Alexandra of Bavaria believed that as a child, she accidentally swallowed an entire glass piano that became stuck in her stomach and would kill her if it ever broke to pieces. Never even occurred to this girl how that was even possible. Not even your mom could do that. But you know who could? My man, King Faruk of Egypt, the last of his kind. Described by many as a stomach with a head. He was quite fat, you see. Anyway, this isn't about fat rulers, it's about crazy rulers. And Faruk was quite the personality indeed. For starters, bro was a kleptomaniac. A thief basically. That essentially means Faruk would not only indirectly steal from everyone by exploiting the country's resources to keep his lavish lifestyle, but he would also pickpocket your poor ass. Can't. Blood even stole Churchill's watch at a meeting once. When confronted about it, he said, "Oh, just a prank, bro." Which I'm sure Churchill responded with,
"At any rate, that is not respectable."
I don't know why he would feel the need to steal from anybody. At the end of the day, he did have everything he wanted. Women, food, clothes, cars, the world's largest antique coin collection. Definitely not stolen. Also, he had a massive porn collection. What more do you want? Anyway, there is an abundance of interesting stories about this guy. These are some of my favorites. Faruk bought a red car and prohibited anybody from owning a car of the same color. He saw lions in his nightmares, so he shot every lion at the Cairo Zoo. When the Queen of Romania visited Egypt, Faruk wanted to show her his horses, so he released them on his dad's harem, where they promptly shot on the floor. Faruk had a royal guard of 30 Albanian bodyguards around him at all times. He himself was also part Albanian. When people got sick of him, a coup was organized, supported by the CIA. It was called Project FF, aka Project Fatfucker. Oh, and he liked teenage girls. Yeah, I think that's enough insanity for today. Before you leave, I have a few honorable mentions to show you. Byzantine Emperor Justin II. He completely lost his marbles after losing the city of Dara to the Sassanid Persians. Confined to a wheelchair, he would bite anybody that got close to him. King Henry VIII of England. My man changed the official religion of his country from Catholicism to Protestantism because the Pope wasn't letting him divorce his stupid bitch wife and marry another woman. Sorry, another 5 women. Divorced, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded, survived. Remember that. Last but not least, King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, or Chad for short. According to a story from the Old Testament, God wanted to punish Chad for being a dickhead. So he said, "You will live in the wild and eat grass like a cow for 7 years." And he did just that. Now there's debate over this story's historical authenticity, but then again you have to remember, the source here is literally God. Whatever the case may be, it's quite interesting that an almighty king may have decided to cosplay as your mom for 7 years. There are some crazy people out there, guys.